Hey guys, I'm back with another rolling analysis. This time I am rolling with one of my teammates, Oozie. Currently I'm the one in frame. I'm wearing shorts with the stylish sock and knee pad. And Oozie is the one in the blue spats. So let's get this analysis going. Let it play for a little bit, just so we can see sort of what's going on interrupted for a short phrase. Okay, let's rewind a little bit. Just go over what's happening right here. So we start standing. Oozie pulls guard, and we initiate just a series of grip battles. I'm busy trying to strip. Oozie's hooks, his foot hooks, and also his hands when he's grabbing my ankle with the De La Hiva grip here. So with my left hand, I'm pushing his hook down, and with my right hand, I'm also removing his grip so I can straighten my leg and not allow Oozie to have the grips with his hooks. So it's just a back and forth, making sure I strip his grips so he can't initiate any of his attacks. So Oozie does a good job pummeling his left leg back inside, and I don't like that. So I don't want both of Oozie's legs inside with upper body grips, because then he can possibly shoot up into single leg X. He has all of the inside space underneath my legs, and because his knees are to his chest, I can't just sit down at a mount. And so right there, he has all of the offensive options. So I decide to step my left leg back into more of a stable stance. And right there, I throw his legs. So I'm mostly utilizing outside passing, so I'm sort of circling around Oozie. And what I'm trying to do is to get both of my legs on one side of his body. So right here, I have grips on both of Oozie's legs, just around the ankles. And what I'm going to do is throw Oozie's legs to my left, and step with my left foot, the foot with the sock, into the hip pocket, into Oozie's left hip pocket. So right there, I do get my foot where it needs to be, but Oozie brings his legs back in front of him, and my pass fails. So I'll perform this pass again later in the roll where I'm more successful, and we can go over the differences as to what I did differently in the second pass versus this pass right here. So right here, Oozie has his legs in front of him, and I'm sort of monitoring his right leg, which is, right now it's covered by my body. This could easily turn into 50-50, so I want to make sure I keep my base, and also just preemptively hide my heel just in case he's thinking about leg locks. So I'm keeping a good base, and you can see my left leg, which Oozie is grabbing right now. I'm sort of pointing my knee slightly outwards away from his body, which pretty much keeps my heel on the ground, and also keeps my the angle of my foot sort of glued to his ribs. Just making sure I keep good base, and monitoring his right leg, just in case he decides to go for something like 50-50. I eventually do want to just stand up again and continue passing, utilizing outside passing. So right here, I initiate less of a Toriando pass and more a movement-based pass on my part. Just sidestepping my foot, getting my foot and my shin into the hip pocket, and passing that way. So what was the difference here? We'll watch it again, but what happens... Okay, so let's slow it down. Basically, I get my foot in the hip pocket. And so right now, both of my feet are on one side of my opponent's body. And I'm also past the legs. So really, the only frames right now that remain are his arms. So what happened the first time was that Oozie brought his legs back in. And so therefore I was dealing with not only his arm frames, but also his leg frames, because he's able to bring his knees to his chest and get his right foot back into my hip pocket. This second time around, what I did was I took an extra step to Oozie's left, and then used both of my hands and posted on Oozie's knees. So right here, so as I post on his knees, I move to more of a north-south position. So this, in a way, nullifies not only the arm frames, because I'm moving above him, but also I'm using my arms to push on his knees, which does not let Oozie bring his legs back in. So essentially what I'm doing is opening up the space in between my opponent's elbows and their knees. And that gives me the inside space real estate. And then once that happens, I can drop down, put a little weight on, and take my time and figure out how to advance my position without the frames getting in my way. So here, I believe I put a knee down right on Oozie's left hand. So it's kind of like a knee on belly. He has a frame using his hand on my hip, which is preventing me from moving even more into his space. So good use of frames on Oozie's part here. In order for Oozie to recover, he would want to get his knees to his chest. And so he would want to frame me, not necessarily the way that he's pushing me now, because right now his right arm is basically going up against the power of my legs, because I'm driving in the opposite direction, he's driving that way. So one possibility is, because I'm driving what looks to be on the screen to the right, Oozie could also use that to his advantage by pushing me up and to the right and bringing his knees back in, so he can recover his guard. So here, what I'm looking for, because Oozie is on his side, is a pocket of space between his rib cage and his right arm, which is the top arm, since he's on his side. I'm essentially looking for a Kimura. Oozie, this isn't his first rodeo, so obviously he's got a tight elbow to his ribs, and I don't believe I found the Kimura, and he ended up getting a single leg on me. One of my favorite counters to the single leg, because at this point it's a little too late to sprawl, is to get a Kimura grip on the other arm and to sit back and turn it into essentially a T Kimura. So it's sort of the beginnings of a Kimura trap. If you think about rolling back, the end position when rolling back is essentially the same as the position when you're up top. So he gets the single leg, and it's the arm that is currently not wrapped around my leg, where I come over behind his back, and I get the under the armpit and to the wrist grip, and we call that the 5-0 grip. I first get the one-handed version, and then I take my secondary hand, which is posted right now, to get the Kimura on that arm, on Oozie's left arm. So right here. And then here I begin to fall back, and if you can imagine my back to the ground, that's essentially right here where the Kimura trap is. You can also see that I'm sort of using my left leg to bump Oozie over, and instead of getting stuck here, Oozie begins getting up, and the strength of the Kimura trap is that if you're able to keep the tension in the arm, you can use that momentum to swing up and take the back, which was what I attempted to do but failed. So here I swing up and I lose the Kimura. So what happened there? So I've got the Kimura here, I roll back, and right here, it's a little hard to see, but I'm trying to push the Kimura into Oozie's hip pocket. Once I am pushing it in his hip pocket, I want to use my forearm into my opponent's chest to knock him back down, and that gives me the proper positioning to actually take his back. But I think if I pause at the right moment here, right here, you can sort of see that Oozie's elbow is higher up than what I would like. And so what that tells me, even though it's not evidently clear in the video, is that the tension in my Kimura when I was pushing Oozie's hands into what I thought was his hip, it just wasn't tight enough. And so that gives Oozie space, and when my opponent has space, they can posture, and when they posture, I lose the position. And here we reset. And we go back to guard passing. Here we play more of a similar game where Oozie is pummeling his legs. I think he's doing a good job having De La Hiva here, and then switching to inside position, and me trying to, again, pummel my legs to one side of Oozie. So this pass is essentially a pass from half guard. So right now I sort of have my knee on Oozie's stomach, and what usually happens here is it's like a sort of a remnant of me trying to get out of an X guard. I think Oozie's looking for the X guard, and I am trying to pummel both my legs to the outside so I can take my left leg with the sock and get a knee on belly, get it into the hip pocket, get my shin onto his belly button, back out my right leg, and get a knee on belly. Guard passing is generally messy, and what happens is I try to pummel, it doesn't work, Oozie regains my left leg, but I do have a shin across his belly right now using my right leg. And so this puts me in a spot where in my head it's kind of like I've half passed Oozie's legs, so it's gotten my upper body close enough to Oozie. So what happens now is I start looking for some form of upper body control. So the best type is obviously going to be the far underhook with a crossface. Your standard, if I'm in side control, I'm cross facing my opponent so that they look the other way, and I have an underhook so they can't get on their side, and I'm pinning both of their shoulders to the ground. That's one of the forms of upper body control. I think in this case, I'm taking my right arm and I'm wrapping Oozie's head up with kind of like a guillotine, and my left arm goes in with the arm in. And it's not a very tight grip. Like I'm not going to be finishing. It's definitely not like a finish. I'm using it to pass. So I essentially have an arm in guillotine grip, and it has the added benefit of blocking the space behind Oozie's head, so he's sort of stuck where he is, and he can't hip escape out. The drawback to such a grip is that I'm less stable, and so if Oozie decided to turn his entire body to the right, I would have to quickly base out. Otherwise, I would essentially face plant or get swept. So here you can see that I reach over for the guillotine grip, and once I have some form of upper body control, then I turn my attention back to my legs. So I'm controlling the upper body in some form or fashion. Now I'm trying to figure out how to release my left leg. So I release my left leg, and Oozie gets to turtle position. I do a bad job of keeping it, and also we're going out of frame. So we'll fast forward. Hard to see here. So here again, I think we end up in a half guard position, and this time it's on the other side. And the same theme occurs here. So Oozie does have a hook on my right leg, and he has a half butterfly. So I need to be careful and make sure that my left leg with the sock is I'm basing out with my toes. So you can see like I want to make sure that like my left leg isn't just totally wedged into his hip, because that means I don't have any base behind me on my left hand side. So if Oozie decides to use his half butterfly hook and sweep me over, it would be very, very easy. Right now it's a little harder because my hips are bladed, my toe with the sock is touching the ground, and I'm essentially trying to keep a very stable base here. But same deal here. I'm looking for some form of upper body control, and then I'll figure out how to free my right leg. So right here, I need to be careful. Oozie has gotten a Kimura on my left arm, and which is dangerous. Now it's very, very important that I keep my base. You can see the minute he gets that Kimura, it's not over. Obviously, I'm grabbing my own thigh. You can see the fingers on my left thigh here. But it is dangerous, and I don't want to lose my base in this position. The minute he gets the counter Kimura on my left arm, I'm looking to free my right leg. I need to start freeing that right leg because that gives me mobility for the rest of my body to move in a way that relieves the pressure of the Kimura. Namely, I want to step my left leg over Oozie's head, and so I can pivot and turn his Kimura into an armbar. So I'm looking to free that right leg. I think you can see there for a split second, I thought about using my left leg with the sock for a hook. So I could hook his half guard and use it as a frame to free my right leg. But I think the minute I took my foot off the ground, I realized that I did not feel stable and that I would get swept over. So there, nope, it didn't reach. Trying to free my right leg, sort of inching it out, making sure, using my arm now to free the legs. And the minute I get enough space for my right leg, then I can take my left and begin to step over, but we run out of space. So we start again, away from the wall. I get my right leg out. I wish we weren't so close to the wall because anytime you reset, especially in training, I'm not paying too close attention. If they want the position again, I guess like here we reset with my leg already free, and maybe that wasn't the most fair representation. But my leg is free, and right there, it's out of frame, but you can see the outcome of me freeing my right leg and stepping over to get the armbar. Obviously, I lost the arm in doing so, but losing the arm and staying on top is better than getting Kimura countered when you're already in top half guard. So here, Oozie does a good job framing me away. I'm in this awkward position where Oozie is looking for what looks to be a calf slicer, although I believe the lock on the calf slicer is in the wrong direction. Because if you have your legs locked in a triangle in the middle, there is the potential for the knee bar. So you see how Oozie's right foot is sticking out of my left hip. That could have been a knee bar danger there. I think if Oozie, it was tough because I was basing with my hands, but if he somehow got me down to the ground, the backside 50-50 would also be a plausible finish here. So let's see what happens. I think right now I'm basing, and I understand that there are dangers to me both from the backside 50-50. So if he pushes me down and gets his left foot, which is behind my knee right now, into the opposite hip, he could finish with the backside 50-50. If he grabbed my hips somehow, he could also finish me with the calf slicer here. So I was very aware of those dangers. Hence, I'm sort of keeping my legs straight, making sure that he can't really force me down with pressure to the back of the knee. Also trying to, finesse my right foot out. And then to get out of the calf slicer, it's just falling to straightening and falling towards the leg that is being calf sliced. So here I fell down on my left side and then released myself. So So I actually don't know the reason why the escape works only when you fall to the side that is being calf sliced. So that is one thing that I'm not entirely sure about. I know this only because I've fallen to the opposite side and have gotten finished on a calf slicer. So that might be some thinking that needs to happen on my part to gain a better understanding of what's happening there. So here, follow to that side, I release my leg, fall to guard, and then we begin guard play. So just basic frames, keeping my knees close to my chest. So here, Oozie steps his right leg in and goes for a single leg X, even though his left foot was not on my hip. You can still. He essentially was falling into a diagonal ashi with his knees pinched. So think of someone initiating a single leg X with an outside heel hook. So my knee was it's like angled in the way of what we would call a crippler, which is the same as the diagonal ashi. I come up and immediately I know that I am in danger of an outside heel hook, and so I come up, I push his legs away. As I turn away, I'm going to release my knee. So I'm going to get my knee line out. So right here, it looks bad, but I already know that I'm okay because my knee is out. The line of my knee is no longer in danger. So I do a back step. Oozie opens it up, and time is up. But here, if Oozie did not reopen his legs, my back step, I could have turned this into a back take here. But because Oozie opened his legs, we go straight back into guard play, which is much better than getting outside heel hook. So that was a roll with my teammate Oozie. Just a breakdown on a couple things that were happening in there. Yeah, I hope this helped you as it did me. See ya.